Some stories are born from comfort, but this one was born from pain, blood, and a faith that refused to die. What I am about to share still shakes my heart, because remembering it feels like walking again through fire. Please stay with me, because this is not just a story about suffering. It is a story about courage, persecution, and hope, when everything tried to destroy me. Before you continue reading, I invite you to comment where you are watching or reading from. Let us connect as one family, support one another, and continue to pray for those who are still suffering for their faith around the world. My name in this story is Daniel Rahim. The date everything began to change was March 14th, 2012. At that time, I was 27 years old. Before fear became my daily companion, my life was simple. I woke up each morning to the sound of dust-filled wind brushing against our small home. The walls were old, cracked, and tired, much like the people who lived around me. Still, I found peace in small things: morning light, quiet prayers, helping my mother carry water, sharing bread with neighbors who had nothing left to share. Faith was not safe where I lived. It was something whispered, hidden, and protected like a fragile flame. Choosing to follow Christ did not bring applause. It brought danger. I knew this, yet my heart could not turn away. The more I learned about love, forgiveness, and truth, the stronger my faith became. Persecution did not begin with bullets. It began with eyes. Eyes that watched me for too long. Eyes that followed me through the market. People who once greeted me began to avoid me. Some showed anger, others showed fear. A few showed hatred so deep it felt cold. Men with power in the area made it clear that my faith was not welcome. They sent warnings through others. Someone revealed to me that my name had been discussed in places I was not allowed to enter. Another person showed me signs that I was being marked as a problem. I was told to change, to be silent, to return to what was expected of me. But silence felt like a lie, and my heart could not live with that. The persecution grew heavier with time. Friends stopped visiting. Children were warned not to speak to me. Stones were thrown at our door late at night. Food was refused to us at the market. My family suffered because of my decision. That pain hurt more than anything else. I remember one evening clearly. The sky was red and heavy, as if it knew something bad was coming. I sat alone, my hands shaking, not from cold, but from fear. I asked myself if faith was worth this cost. Then I remembered that faith had never promised safety, only truth. Rumors spread fast. Some said I was teaching others secretly. Some said I was bringing foreign beliefs to destroy tradition. None of it was true, but truth did not matter to those who wanted control. What mattered was fear, and fear was their strongest weapon. The pressure became unbearable. Armed men were seen more often. Patrols increased. Nighttime became dangerous. Every sound made my heart race. Footsteps outside felt like a warning. Doors closing felt like a goodbye. One afternoon, a person I trusted came to me with fear in their eyes. They showed me with their actions that something serious was coming. They revealed that my life was no longer just being watched, but planned against. I understood then that persecution had crossed a line. Still, I stayed. I stayed because leaving felt like abandoning the truth that had given my life meaning. I stayed because others were watching how I would respond. I stayed because fear should not be the final voice. But persecution does not ask permission before it strikes. As the days passed, the air itself felt heavy. Even breathing felt loud. I sensed danger everywhere. I prayed silently, not for escape, but for strength. I did not know that my faith was about to be tested in the most violent way possible. The morning before the attack, I felt a deep unease. Not panic, but a strange calm mixed with sadness. I hugged my mother longer than usual. I looked at the road outside our home, unaware that it would soon be painted with blood. I did not know that guns were already waiting. I did not know that hatred had already made its decision. I did not know that my life was about to be broken open so that a greater story could be told. And so I stepped outside, unaware that the sound of gunfire was closer than my next breath. I did not know that this day would try to erase my name from the earth, but I felt it in my chest before the sun fully rose, like danger breathing close to me. What happened next still follows me in my sleep, and I share it so the world will understand the cost of faith. That morning felt heavy. The air was thick, and even the birds were quiet. I walked slowly, watching the road, feeling watched myself. Persecution had trained my body to stay alert. Every step felt measured. Every sound felt louder than it should. I had already suffered many forms of persecution before this day. I had been insulted, rejected, threatened, and pushed away. People had refused to sell food to me. Children had been warned to stay away from me. Some neighbors had turned their backs as if I carried a sickness. This pain stayed inside me, growing quietly. As I moved through the street, I noticed men standing apart from others. Their faces were hard. Their eyes were not kind. Their silence felt sharp. My heart started to race, but my feet kept moving. I tried to act normal, even though fear was already pressing on my chest. Suddenly, the world broke open. The sound of gunfire exploded around me. It was loud, fast, and violent. My body reacted before my mind understood. Pain hit me like fire. I felt it in my chest, my arms, my legs, my back. I fell hard onto the ground. Dust filled my mouth. Blood soaked my clothes. I did not know how many times I was shot at first. I only knew that my body was being torn apart. Every breath felt heavy. My ears rang. My vision blurred. I tried to move, but my body felt broken. As I lay there, I saw boots around me. I felt the ground shake with footsteps. These men were not strangers to fear. They were used to causing it. Their hatred was not sudden. It had grown over time because of my decision to follow Christ. One of them showed me with his actions that mercy was not part of their plan. Another revealed through his movements that they believed my life had no value. I understood in that moment that persecution had reached its final form. More shots came. Each one felt like fire tearing through me. I later learned it was 20 bullets. At that moment, it felt endless. My body screamed, but my voice would not come out. Pain wrapped around me like chains. People nearby did nothing. Fear kept them frozen. Some turned away, some hid. I do not blame them. Persecution teaches everyone to survive first. As I lay there bleeding, I felt weak, small, and alone. My thoughts slowed, my strength faded. I believed this was the end. I believed my story would finish on that dirt road. But even in that darkness, something inside me stayed awake. I could not move my body, but my heart was still reaching out. I did not hear words, but I felt presence. Calm entered my fear. Peace touched my pain. It did not remove the suffering, but it carried me through it. Blood continued to flow. My body grew cold. The sky above me looked far away. I remember thinking about my family, about the cost they paid because of my faith. That hurt almost more than the bullets. Eventually, the men left. They believed their mission was complete. The street grew quiet again. I was left alone, broken, and bleeding. I was still alive. I did not understand why. My body should have stopped. My heart should have failed. But breath was still coming, slow and weak. Life refused to leave me. This was not the end. This was the moment where death stepped close, and something greater stepped closer. And as my eyes closed, I did not know that help was already moving toward me, guided by a power far stronger than guns or hatred. I should not have opened my eyes again, but I did, and that moment still feels like a secret between heaven and my broken body. What happened next is the reason I believe my life was not finished on that road. I drifted in and out of darkness. Time did not feel real anymore. Minutes felt like hours. Pain came in waves, then faded, then returned stronger. My body was weak, heavy, and cold. Blood soaked into the ground beneath me, and I could feel life slowly slipping away. In that space between living and dying, fear lost its power. I was too tired to be afraid. My breathing was shallow. My heart beat slowly, as if it was deciding whether to stay or leave. Then something changed. I did not see with my eyes the way I normally do. It felt deeper than sight. I sensed presence around me. Not danger, not hatred. This presence felt calm, steady, and strong. It felt like protection wrapping itself around my broken body. I felt lifted inside, even though my body stayed on the ground. The pain did not fully disappear, but it no longer controlled me. Warmth replaced the cold. Peace entered a place that had only known fear moments before. It felt as though I was not alone anymore. I sensed that help had arrived before humans could reach me. I believed angels were near, not because I saw wings, but because I felt safety in a place where safety should not exist. Around me, the road was still quiet. The men who shot me were gone. The dust had settled, yet my heart felt guarded. It felt as though something unseen stood between me and death. Not long after, movement returned to the street. I heard footsteps running. Hands touched me carefully. Someone showed urgency through their actions. Another person revealed shock and fear by how they reacted to my wounds. I understood they did not expect me to be alive. They lifted me gently. Every movement hurt, but I stayed conscious. I felt carried, not just by people, but by strength I did not have on my own. Blood continued to leave my body, yet my heart kept beating. On the way to help, I faded again. This time the darkness felt different. It was not empty. It felt watched over. I felt covered, like a child wrapped in a blanket during a storm. Later, I learned that doctors were confused. My injuries were severe. Bullets had passed through places that should have ended my life. They showed concern through their actions. They revealed disbelief by how often they checked my signs of life. Persecution had tried to silence me forever. Hatred had done its worst. Violence had spoken loudly, yet I was still breathing. I realized then that my survival was not luck. It was purpose. My life had been preserved for a reason greater than pain. The same faith that caused my suffering had also carried me through it. As I lay there, weak and broken, I understood something clearly. Persecution can wound the body, but it cannot defeat what God protects. I had been shot 20 times. I had been left to die. But I was not abandoned. Angels had stood where humans could not. Hope had stayed when strength was gone. And my story was not over. The next chapter of my life would be written with scars, healing, and a message meant for the world. I survived the bullets, but the hardest part came after, when I had to live with the scars, the memories, and the truth that following Christ had changed my life forever. This chapter is not about gunfire, but about what persecution leaves behind. When I woke up fully, I was not on the road anymore. I was in a small hospital room. The smell of medicine filled the air. Light came through a dusty window. My body felt heavy, wrapped in bandages, weak and tired. Pain lived in every part of me. I could not move without help. Tubes ran into my arms. Each breath felt slow and careful. I learned through gestures and actions that I had been close to death many times. Doctors showed concern by how closely they watched me. Nurses revealed surprise by how often they checked if I was still alive. Persecution did not end when the shooting stopped. It followed me into recovery. Some people were afraid to visit me. Others avoided being seen near me. My family suffered quietly. They faced questions, threats, and rejection because of me. I could see fear in their eyes when strangers came close. I felt guilt deep inside my chest, knowing my faith had cost them safety. My body healed slowly, but my heart carried heavy wounds. Nighttime was the hardest. I would wake suddenly, sweating, remembering the sound of gunfire. My hands would shake, my chest would tighten. The road, the blood, the hatred all came back. I had moments where I asked myself why I was spared. I saw others who were killed for less. I saw families destroyed. I saw faith punished harshly. Persecution is cruel because it does not stop with pain. It tries to steal hope. Yet even in weakness, I felt purpose growing. I noticed that people listened when they learned I survived. Some showed curiosity through their actions. Others revealed quiet respect. A few even showed courage by asking about my faith. My scars became proof, not shame. They showed what belief can cost, and what it can also carry. I realized my life had been preserved to speak for those who could no longer speak, for believers hiding in fear, for families mourning in silence, for children growing up learning that faith can be dangerous. I chose forgiveness, not because it was easy, but because hatred had already done enough damage. I chose to love, because love had saved me when bullets tried to erase me. Today, I live with pain in my body and memories in my mind, but also with peace in my heart. I know now that persecution may break bones, but it cannot break truth. It may wound flesh, but it cannot defeat faith. My survival is not about me. It is about God's mercy and a purpose bigger than fear. Before you leave this story, I ask you with a humble heart to remember believers around the world who are still suffering. Pray for those in prison. Pray for those hiding. Pray for those who have lost family, safety, and homes because of their faith. And if your heart feels heavy, if you desire forgiveness and a new beginning, I encourage you to turn to God even now. You can speak to Him simply, acknowledging your sins, believing in Jesus, and asking for salvation and a changed life. He listens to honest hearts, no matter where you are. May this story remind you that faith is costly, but it is never wasted. And may God give strength to every persecuted believer across the world.